Hey guys, it's your boy, Bo the Doggo, and welcome back to Adastra episode 19, I think. We're gonna do it as we did last time, with me playing without suit, so no face cam except for when there's reaction stuff happening, because you guys seemed okay with it, and it made life a lot more easy for me as well, so we're gonna do that now as well. But anyway, what happened last time? I don't remember. We talked to Amicus and told him about what the parent told us, and told him that we have a plan to get him out, and he was didn't want us to get into trouble, but we were like, yeah, shut up, we're gonna do it anyway. And when we got out of there, we met up with Alex. He wasn't too happy to see us, and now he knows that we have a plan to put Amicus on the throne, and that would get the wolves back into the Galaxias, and Alex wouldn't like that. And after that we met Neferu, who was drunk, and wasn't that nice to us, calling us a slave and stuff, but then he opened up a bit more, and he has a lot of stuff bothering him, and he doesn't really have anyone to talk to about it, so he has a lot of weight on his shoulders. Because in his case, it seems that if he can't make this alliance happen with the wolves, he can as well just be banished from the Chemians, so he has a lot of stakes in this. I want things to get well for Neferu, and for Alex, and for Amicus, and for everyone. Not Kato, I hate Kato, but everyone else. So yeah, with no further ado, guys, let's go. Oh yeah, and the last episode ended with Neferu telling us that we can go with Virginia to Cassius and tell him, or show him, the evidence that we have gathered, and see if we can get him off the throne peacefully, and also get Amicus out of the dungeon. So that's what we're gonna do now. I toss and turn most of the night, even while Neferu snores loudly in his own bed. I go over what I might be able to say to Cassius, in case things go wrong for whatever reason. I find that difficult to do though, especially considering how angry and unpredictable the wolf can be sometimes. I manage to get at least a couple of hours of sleep. But as soon as the sun starts shining through the opening in the roof, I'm up and ready for Virginia to come get me. But that doesn't happen until an hour later, and Neferu only lifts its head for the moment when the wolf enters, before groaning and dropping it back to the pillow. I'm hoping that he doesn't remember what happened yesterday, for his sake. The amount of anticipation in the air is almost too much for me to handle as I follow Virginia to the throne room. It's a feeling that I haven't felt since the trials, since when I thought I was about to be able to fly back home. Now though, is the anticipation that I'll be able to get Amicus out of the dungeon. We pause at the door, Virginia glancing at me.
Remember, speak only if absolutely necessary. This is of the utmost importance.
I nod silently. I get the feeling that she hadn't wanted me to come, but Neferu probably insisted. The wolf reaches out and presses the panel, opening the door. I follow her in and immediately spot Cassius on his throne, still on his little boosted seat. But there's someone else too. We're chosen today because Kato hadn't returned from his ship, thus leaving Cassius alone. Now though, Alex is here, kneeling beside the throne, his head on the armrest while Cassius strokes his head, his other paw occupied with the table-like device. He glances up.
Ah, sister! And Bo. What was it you needed?
Virginia is silent until we stop at the base of the steps. I come to a stop just behind her to her left. Cassius narrows his eyes and looks down at us, probably realizing that this is no ordinary visit. Meanwhile, Alex just stares at us inquisitively, looking innocent and oblivious as he always tries to.
Brother, I have something very, very important to discuss with you.
Cassius regards her for a moment, and then glances at me.
Why is he here?
It involves him. It involves all of us, actually.
Cassius frowns deeply, expression growing more and more sour.
And what is it, Virginia?
Virginia takes a deep breath.
Cassius, you must abdicate.
It takes Cassius a moment to take that in, but when he does, his eyes widen and his nostrils flare, leaning back in his throne like he's been slapped.
Excuse me?
I wonder if this is the best way to go about telling Cassius that we're about to try to take the throne from him. I look around, wondering if there are any drones he might use to blast us with.
Cassius, we all know that this is illegitimate. You must consider—
Enough! I will not hear talk of this! From my own sister, no less! Leave at once!
The young wolf is shaking in his seat, eyes widen, ears flat.
Well, you must hear it.
I must not! I followed every protocol! I am in my right place! Leave now or I will have the drones escort you!
Alex is sitting straight up staring at us, his ears perked, and I kind of wish that we could have had him leave the room. Virginia remains calm, simply gazing back at Cassius with an almost stoic look.
Brother, you must hear it, because we have proof of your deception.
Cassius seems to have recovered from his initial shock, though he's still trembling a bit, chest heaving for breath.
What proof?
Virginia takes a deep breath.
You know that we already know about the staging, but we have footage of the third trial. All of it.
Cassius stays quiet, unsure of what to say.
We have contacts in Adastra that will release it to the public tomorrow evening.
Cassius swallows hard.
Then I will close the news channels.
Not only the news channels, but in portable formats as well that may be copied and spread. You will not be able to stop all of it.
Cassius opens his mouth, then closes it, then opens it again, then closes it. He didn't see this coming at all. Finally, his shoulders drop and he stares at the floor.
Virginia, how could you do this to me?
Virginia frowns, actually looking a bit sad.
How could you take the throne in such a dishonest manner? Mother taught you better.
Do not speak of mother!
Cassius' response is instant and angry before he deflates again. The silence stretches out for a while before Virginia speaks again.
I know you, Cass. I know that you're an honest, honorable wolf. I know you don't want an emperorship like this.
Cassius goes on staring off into space. Do you even want to be the emperor, Cassius? Virginia looks sharply over at me, but I ignore her for now, looking right up at Cassius. He turns his gaze slowly at me.
What sort of question is that?
Remember when we saw the parents together? Cassius instantly bristles, his ears turning a deep red. You remember what they said, right?
I don't remember.
Sure, anyway, you know what the parents think and what they want. Just listen to them. They only want what's best for the Empire. Cassius closes his eyes, taking a deep breath.
Why are you doing this to me?
He says it quietly, and I'm not sure if he's talking to me, Virginia, or to both of us.
Because we also want what's best for the Empire, Cassius, and that involves a legitimate emperor that rightfully sits upon the throne.
I can't just abdicate. How many emperors have even done that? The humiliation will be too great.
For the first time, I hear some resignation in Cassius' voice, and I actually do believe that he doesn't want this emperorship anymore. So I jump in again. We can make up any story you want, Cassius. It doesn't have to be a shameful thing. We can make it seem honorable, even though I think it already is if you do step down. Again, Cassius is silent, and I can only imagine all of the things that are going through his head right now. He knows that the release of the footage will destroy his image, cause unrest, probably to the point that he'll never be able to recover if he ever remained on the throne. He already knows that he's been beaten. Alex, meanwhile, continues to sit at his side, just staring at the two of us. I'm surprised he hasn't said anything at all, and again, I'm not sure whose side he's on.
Also, you need to demote Carter from advisor, otherwise he will become acting emperor again.
Cassius looks sharply at us. We know that he's behind all of this, that you're a puppet, Cassius. Cassius bristles, and Virginia shoots me another warning look. But you're still the Emperor. You have complete power over your advisor, and you can easily cut those strings. Cassius looks about ready to say something, to protest, but again he slumps down, just glaring at his knees. That would automatically make Amicus Emperor. It's not a question, just a definite statement. We don't say anything.
I suppose he was always destined to be that. I was a fool to think I could make this work.
Virginia's ears perk up, and I feel a swooshing feeling in my chest, like I just missed a step. Alex just looks up at Cassius, frowning. Cassius shakes his head.
I need to think. You said tomorrow evening?
The 14th hour.
Cassius sighs, then nods.
I see. I will make an announcement tomorrow after breakfast. I need to meditate.
Certainly.
Cassius drops his paw to his lap and picks up the glass tablet again, and just like that, we're dismissed. As Virginia turns to go, I quickly speak up. Cassius, can I see Amicus again? He rolls his eyes.
Gods. Yes, in fact.
He looks up at the ceiling.
Come, set Bo's access to the dungeons as unrestricted. He'll be free by tomorrow anyways, I'm sure.
Thank you. I bow because I feel that that's the right thing to do, but Cassius only grunts in response. I then quickly follow Virginia into the hallway, almost skipping with relief and excitement.
Holy shit, that was easy!
I whisper to the she-wolf as she remains that stoic look.
It really was, wasn't it? It seems that Cassius isn't enjoying his position on the throne after all.
Did he really think it would be easy?
I think he never looked past beating Amicus, and now that he has, well...
I shake my head. If that was the only reason, then he deserves this.
Well, I don't believe it was his only reason. He simply didn't prepare himself beyond the trials.
Virginia side-eyes me.
And don't get too excited just yet. Nothing is final until Cassius says the words.
Yeah, but it looks like he's definitely going to.
It does, yes, but remain careful and vigilant. Also,
Virginia pauses as we reach a branch in the hallway where we will part ways so that I can go to the dungeons. I stop and look up at her, stepping from one foot to the other, eager to tell Amicus the news.
You've noticed my loyalty to Amicus over the past weeks, yes?
Yeah?
At the very least, this will be deserving of some sort of official position, don't you think?
You want to be chief advisor, right?
Yes, and you are very close to him.
I'll get him to make it happen. The wolf almost looks shocked. I don't know why though. I'd assume that it was always part of the plan.
Thank you, Bo.
Of course. I'll see you later today. I leave the wolf standing there, trying not to walk too fast on my way to the dungeons. And we are back. I had to stop recording yesterday, so we're gonna continue recording today. If the audio is different from yesterday, I apologize. Anyhow, let's continue. Amicus is shocked when I tell him the news, obviously, but like Virginia, he tells me to stay cautious. Anything can happen between now and when Cassius makes the announcement, and we are definitely not guaranteed an abdication during said announcement. Either way, I promise Amicus to come back down first thing in the morning to tell him the news. I leave in good spirits and catch Amicus' tail wagging more than it usually does. We might actually be at the end of this nightmare. I wouldn't be so quick about that, but we'll see. Bo! Huh? I stare at the ceiling, wondering for a moment where I am. Bo, your presence is requested at breakfast. What? I'd returned to Virginia and Pharaoh, having a drink to celebrate our tentative victory. I joined them and maybe had a bit too much. It's all a bit blurry, but the splitting headache is evidence though. Yeah. Wine can be pretty rough. Then I remember that Com woke me up. Wait, breakfast? Yes, your presence is requested immediately. I hadn't had breakfast with the family since Amicus was imprisoned. Why would they request me now? That gets me nervous, knowing what's about to happen today. I look over to once again see Neferu sleeping on his bed, his fur uncharacteristically mussed up, just like yesterday morning. Quickly I jump out of bed, throwing on my robes and trying to straighten out my hair as I hurry out towards the dining room. I wonder if maybe Amicus is already out of the dungeon. Maybe he's the one requesting my presence. But as I reach the door, I realize that that's not the case. Oh, the family. Virginia, Cassius and Kato sits on the beds while Alex kneels in front of Cassius. As I walk in, I can immediately tell that something is off. The air is tense. I come to a gradual stop, unsure of what to do as the rest of them glance up at me.
Ah, is that Bo? How nice of you to join us. Would you care to serve us food and drink, please?
Something is very wrong here. Did Cassius tell Kato about what happened? There's not much else I can do, except walk over to kneel beside Alex, reaching out to begin serving the wolves. Why would he do that if he's a Kemian? Couldn't he just say no? It's completely silent as all of them just watch me fumbling around with the food. Finally, Virginia breaks the silence.
Kato, is there a reason you called us all to breakfast?
Kato turns his head in Virginia's direction.
Can't I just enjoy a meal with the royal siblings? I simply wanted to discuss my trip with you.
Oh, I see. It's just been so long since we'd had the scheduled breakfast.
It may be a good habit to get back into. Wouldn't you agree, Emperor Cassius?
Oh, yes, definitely, Kato. How was your trip?
Being the entertainment capital of Adastra, I had such a good time observing the place. Despite my inability to observe.
Kato starts laughing loudly, and I can tell why everyone is on edge. This isn't like Kato at all. I set the plate out for Kato, while Alex does the same for Cassius, and while he's working on Virginia's plate, Kato shifts.
Bo, could you hand us all our goblets? I'm absolutely parched.
I had noticed that all the goblets had already been set out in front of each wolf, already filled up with wine. Carefully, I hand Kato his goblet, then turn to reach for Cassius.
Fear not. These are the events that shall follow.
I blink, and I notice Cassius staring at me, raising an eyebrow. I hold out the goblet, and my fingers twitch, but I keep a stubborn grip. I shake my head and push the goblet into his paw. I'm about to grab Virginia's, but Alex has already finished her plate and hands her her goblet as well. For a while, the wolves eat and drink in silence. At least Virginia and Cassius do. I notice Kato not touching his food at all, simply watching the rest of us. Cassius lets out a loud cough. Alex sets a paw on his leg in concern.
Sorry, something in my throat.
He takes another drink of his wine.
Keep your mind and heart open, great ape. You shall receive guidance.
My vision flashes and the tension somehow builds, and I know now that something terrible is about to happen.
So, Cassius, I hear you have an announcement to make this morning.
The entire room freezes as the wolf stops eating and Alex stops serving. I sit there on my knees, trying to keep my breath even, trying to deal with the feeling like I have voices in my head and with Kato apparently discovering our plan, all at the same time. Cassius finally speaks. Or tries to. He coughs again, harder this time. I notice him starting to shake, and Alex again puts a paw on his leg.
Cassius? Cassius, what's wrong?
Yes, Cassius, what's wrong? Don't you have a speech to give this morning? You might have to postpone it if you have a cough.
Cassius suddenly sits up, trembling. He stares at Kato, wide-eyed, disbelieving, one paw moving to his throat.
Cassius!
He turns to Alex, reaching a paw out to him, which the cat catches.
I can't breathe.
Cassius wheezes, looking down at his goblet. Then he suddenly spasms, curling over to his stomach before another violent spasm takes him, and he arches out onto the bed, screaming. What? What is going on? Help! No! It's a hideous sound, full of agony. It's so sudden that I'm left to stare in shock, still on my knees. Virginia stands up, moving around her bed to get closer to Cassius. Meanwhile, Alex screams as well, staring in horror at Cassius.
Cass, what is it? What's happening?
Cassius just writhes under him, even as Alex tries to hold him down. I notice his mouth foaming, red from the wine, and the goblet still held in his paw before he drops it, spilling it on the bed and floor.
Cass!
Alex's voice is filled with despair, probably realizing at the same time as I do that Cassius has been poisoned, that he might be dying. No! Stop this! Please, no! What? Cassius can't be dying! No! Stop this! Time out! Let's... No!
Oh dear, are you cramping, Cassius? Perhaps you ate too fast?
The hair rises on the back of my neck as I sense Kato sitting behind me. He'd found out about our plan, and he'd put a stop to it just like that.
Kato, this is too far! Was it the wine?
I almost don't register what Alex just said, but that's when I feel Kato get up behind me. In a few steps, he stands over Alex and Cassius before he swings a paw hard into Alex's face. What? No! What is going on? No! It sends the small cat flying so far that he's thrown up against the wall. He crumbles there, unmoving. Virginia ducks when it happens, but bravely moves forward, grabbing Cassius and turning him over to his stomach. For a moment, I think Kato is going to do the same to her, but he seems to get himself under control.
Was it the wine then? Well, who served it?
He looks around inquisitively, even while Virginia sticks her finger into Cassius' mouth, shoving them deep until the screaming wolf lets out a retch. Kato's eyes settle on me.
What did you put in his drink, Simeon?
I stare there on my knees, dumbfounded. Then there's a splattering sound as Cassius vomits up his breakfast, tinged red from the wine. Virginia stubbornly continues to gag him, forcing out every little bit that she can.
Well, I suppose we will have to investigate, won't we?
Come, send a medical ship from Adastra City. Tell them that the Emperor has been poisoned.
Yes, Virginia. Kato looks down at me. Then, before I can move, he reaches out and grabs up my arm. I felt the power of a wolf before, main one being Amicus of course, but this is different. It's like he's made of stone. Kato starts pulling me towards the door, and every step feels like my arm is about to be yanked out of its socket. As Kato marches out into the hallway, I grasp at his arm with my other hand, trying to relieve the pressure somehow. The wolf stares straight ahead, ignoring me even as I try to pull away. I can walk! I grit my teeth, my hand already numb. I look left and right, trying to figure out how I might get away. There's no chance for that though, as I realize that I've reached Amicus' room. Suddenly, I find myself on the floor as the wolf throws me violently into the room.
I'll suggest you stay there. You have no means to escape anyway. I'll be back to discuss things with you.
There's some strange humor in his voice with that last part, and before I can even look back, the door shuts and I hear another sound. A click. I don't like this. I don't like this at all. I sit in Amicus' room in stunned silence for a long, long time. I still haven't been able to comprehend the series of events that had just unfolded. All I can piece together was that Alex, for whatever reason, had tipped off Kato as to what we were planning. I suppose the cat hadn't expected Kato to use such drastic measures, judging from his reaction, but he wanted to put stop to our plans just the same. Hopefully this will bring Alex to our side when he sees what Kato is like open to do, or what Kato is capable of doing. I don't bother myself trying to figure out Alex's motives anymore though. Instead, I'm left to sit here and wonder if there's anything I can possibly do to get out of this. I soon found out that the clicking sound was door locking. I suppose that means that Kato is the acting emperor again, with Cassius either incapacitated or even dead. I ask Koma about Cassius' health, but he only tells me that that information is not available to him. So I just wait, sitting on the couch for hours, wondering if the next time I see the door slides open, it will be my death. I need Amicus. These thoughts become too much for me, and I have to get up to walk around, trying hard not to hyperventilate. Maybe Neferi will be able to do something. He must have heard what happened by now. Unless Kato did something to him as well. With a deep breath, I push past the curtains and onto the balcony. It's already late afternoon, but that's not what catches my attention. Instead is the smoke rising over the city, the sun shining behind it all to give it a strange red glow. I stare, wondering what possibly could have happened in the short time between this morning and now. Calm? Yes, Bo? Why is there smoke over Adastra City? There's a pause. Here's what I found. At approximately the 11th hour, Cato proclaimed himself Emperor of Adastra, shortly after Emperor Cassius was poisoned by a child pet. Cato then dissolved the Triumvirate and assumed absolute control over the Empire. There are destructive riots all over the 7 major cities. What? Okay, shit is going down. Is Cassius alive? That information is not available to me, Bo. I sigh and stare down at the water, feeling sick. I wonder how much of this is my fault. At least a little bit, if not all of it, for just being here in the first place. And now that Cato is framing me, I'm going to die. My vision blurs with tears before one drops down into the sloshing lake below me. I deleted my profile from Com's database. I tried to remember what I was told about how exactly it works. Something to do with the AI security system. While he might be able to deduce what room I am in based on my voice, he should be blind to my exact location. That would mean that leaving the boundaries of the palace wouldn't alert anything. Maybe if I experimentally stick an arm over the railing, then a leg, and before I know it, I'm on the other side of the balcony, the lake sloshing below me. I think about what I can do. I could swim for the shore, make a run for Adastra City, and maybe find someone to help me. Maybe one of those contacts that Neferu and Virginia keeps talking about. I could also just hide somewhere, maybe even on the island until things settle down a bit. Running into a city in chaos probably wouldn't be the best move. I mean, especially since people think that a pet has poisoned Cassius. They can't be sure if it's Alex or me, but I mean, but take chances, they're probably gonna attack if they see me. But I already know what I'm going to do. I'm gonna jump into the water, swim back to the palace, and then go to Amicus, probably. I'm not going to leave the palace. I'm going to find a way back in. I need to get to Amicus. Yep, there it was. I need to tell him what happened and figure out a way to fall back on our last resort. My stomach twists at that idea, but I know that we're out of choices now. And with that, I look down at the water and let go. Okay, I think we're gonna leave Adastra here for this time. I think this one was shorter than last one, but that would mean that I can get this out sooner. Yeah, looking forward to the next episode. Feels like things are really happening now. I mean, or like things are going down. We've entered the 3rd act now. We're gonna find Amicus and face Cato once and for all. But anyways, big thank you to my patrons you just saw here. If you want to become patron, there's a link in the description, and yeah, also link to my Discord server if you want to come chat with me or other people, mostly other people. But yeah, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, and yeah, take care guys, and remember that you are loved and appreciated, and that you should be proud of who you are, because I want to see you in the next episode. Bye! Should I put this on? Damn, I look like such a douche.